Welcome to episode 83 of Crave the Book. In today's episode, Amber and I are covering chapters 23 through 26 of Tracy Wolff's Court. And in this episode, Grace and the gang are hanging out in the witch's court talking to the king and the queen. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. What is up, guys? Episode 83. This episode, we've got a spoiler that is kind of world ending for Charm that Amber noted. And I was.
Did you notice it?
Yeah. Okay. And I went to write, put it in the spoilers, and I saw you'd already covered it. So, but it's. I think that this is really gonna be something. Like, sometimes we come up with spoilers and they're kind of more theory than anything, but this one feels like a real solid clue. So, guys, just listen out for the wolf howl, because if you have not read Charm, you're going to want to leave towards the end of the episode. We don't have a lot of spoilers today. I have a spoiler that's kind of court related, and Amber has a Charm spoiler. So you'll definitely want to leave if you have not read through Charm when you hear that wolf howl again. But last we left off, Grace and Hudson and the gang, they had just gone through the portal from Katmere. Katmere Academy has fallen because Jackson and Hudson had to collapse it in order to kind of take down this army of wolves that descended upon the school to try to capture everybody. And they decided to go to the witch's court to kind of take refuge, but they were not met with a good reception. And they were being led to the throne room to see the witch king and queen. So yeah, that's kind of where we are starting off. And I guess I should have mentioned it's chapters 23 through 26 today. Okay, Amber, you go ahead and start, since I think that you took most of the starter notes.
Yes. So they go into this big great hall, and Grace kind of goes out like, this is definitely named correctly. But that's what they're all called in castles, so it wasn't too weird of a note for me.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did notice was that there are like people like laughing and chilling out and just having conversations with each other. And there's also like a buffet. And I'm like, why is there a buffet? Children have literally just been abducted.
They're just celebrating, it's a Wednesday.
But then based on what happens later, I feel like maybe it might have been a bribe from Cyrus.
Oh, like he sent food? Like
yeah, he sent a cornucopia of food.
Oh, okay. He's like, hey, I've got your kids, but here's a platter of some of those little pigs in a blanket. Enjoy.
Yeah, to kind of sweeten the deal.
He's got like little cheese cubes with the little plastic swords stuck in them,
Because it didn't say anybody was eating.
It
just says that there was a buffet. And it kind of has it in my head that Cyrus wouldn't really understand the meaning of compassion, so wouldn't really care. Maybe it's more like a wake. It made me think of a wake.
What if
you've had your funeral?
If I was Grace, like walking in with everybody, I would have like stopped and looked over and been like, "Is this for everybody?"
Yes.
You might
are those deviled eggs for anybody?
Can I get myself like a little plate? Is that okay?
What are your go-to items on a buffet?
On a buffet? Well, I guess it depends on where the buffet is, because like we've got like Chinese buffets, we've got like
no
Golden Corral buffet, we got cookout. Like if you're having a cookout and you got just a big table spread laid out.
See, UK buffets, they all have exactly the same items every single time.
Oh. Our buffets have everything. Like,
nah, you have to go if you go for like an all you can eat, like a Chinese. It is always a Chinese. Or there's also ones that have like loads of different cuisines. So you can go to like the China section, or you can go to the India section, and like you choose whichever you want. But usually it's like sausage rolls, Scotch eggs, which are boiled eggs wrapped in sausage meat and then in breadcrumbs. That's like a typical thing.
No.
Which I once mistaken for a garlic mushroom. If you listen to one of our earlier podcast episodes where I told you how I met my husband. And you like little like finger sandwiches. Do you do the finger sandwiches?
Nope.
With like crusts cut off? Always
Nope.
in triangles.
That's
the most sad, disappointing fillings as well.
No, that's like British people and old people who want to feel British.
Oh,
That's-
yeah, no, always finger sandwiches at a buffet. Always. And it's always egg mayo, cheese and pickle.
None of this.
Huh?
None of this. None of the things that you're. If you if you're going to like Golden Corral, which is probably the most American of the American buffets, you go to Golden Corral, you get yourself like a plate of mashed potatoes and fried chicken and maybe like a slice of
not a buffet.
meatloaf.
That's a meal.
Yeah, but you go up and you get multiple plates. That way you can just gorge yourself on.
More than one meal.
Yes. You
No, we have like tiny little bits where like everybody could like have like a miniature vol au vent or a miniature quiche. Quiche is always there. Always a quiche.
No.
I think you call them flan.
No, we have quiche.
Okay.
Flan is like the jelly.
The dessert version.
Yeah, like the Mexican dessert.
Yeah. No, our buffets are always the same. Always.
Now I feel like I need to send you a picture from Golden Corral. I will post it.
Okay.
I'll post it in the card. You may continue though on your next note while I.
So there was a word that she said that there wasn't too many things that appeared to be obsequious. I was like, what the fuck is obsequious?
Obsequious.
Obsequious. And I had to Google the definition. And it is to be over the top with servitude or obedience.
Oh.
As in, like, you are like the lowest of the lows and you're like, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, yes, 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 bow, bow, bow.
Do you think
It was weird. It's a really very weird sentence.
Do you think that that's a term that Tracy uses in her day to day, or is that
I hope
just
so.
was that like one of those moments where she was like, "I need a synonym for," and then she just
Obedient.
yeah.
Maybe. Because that's a pretty wild word for us, like 18-year-old to use.
All right, for some reason my husband has signed us into Bing, so I'm just gonna paste.
Bing.
Yeah, here's a Bing link for you in the bottom of the card.
Thank you very much.
So enjoy scrolling through that of Golden Corral.
That's not a buffet.
It's literally a buffet. It's fried chicken, some fried okra, some fried potatoes, some fried fish.
For all the British people that are listening, it is
All three of you.
When you go to a hotel and you get the traditional English breakfast where everything is served on like hot plates in like individual serving trays with spoons. Or when you go to like a Toby carvery and then you got all of like the vegetable bits and the potato bits and they're all like in individual bits. That's what their idea of a buffet is, but loads of random stuff.
Yeah, it's like when you want to go to eat, but you don't know what to eat, and you're just like, I'm gonna eat the main course from every restaurant all at once, and then you just pile your plate with that. Anyway, now that we've all learned something today, so Grace and the gang are standing in front of the king and queen, and everybody bows, and Grace goes to bow or kneel, and like Jackson and Hudson grab her elbows and like prevent her from bowing to the king and queen. And then she's like, oh right, I'm a queen, which
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it just kind of makes her look like an asshole, but
Yeah, but also like the fact that she didn't know to bow when a king and queen walk in anyway, it wasn't her immediate response, which I feel is like an idiot move.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Siren out of the room. She's moaning.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I heard that. I heard that little like, oh. But yeah, so Grace just kind of stands there and is looking at the king and queen, and they like have murder on their face.
She was asleep when I first started.
Huh?
She was asleep when I first started, and then she just slowly started to make weirder and weirder noises.
Me too. Grace standing there though, like, honestly, I would pee myself if
Yeah, I've had a
everybody.
few nightmares like that.
Yeah, like that would just be so uncomfortable. I think that it would have been better for her to just like bow with everybody, like blend in, do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. I kind of understand where Jackson and Hudson are coming from, where like they know that Grace doesn't really understand the etiquette of queens and kings and stuff like that. But she's already made a kind of statement about herself to Alistair and the Gargoyle Court that she's, I'm not that kind of queen. And I think that she needs to kind of take on the role as she wants to rule. She keeps following everybody else's rules, and I feel like actually maybe if she had bowed, even if it wasn't all the way to the floor, just a sign of respect, maybe the conversation would have gone a bit differently, because the way that the king and queen came over was very much like she'd pissed in their cornflakes.
Immediately. Yeah. Like it was immediately a sign that they took as disrespect, and they treated her as such. And, you know, they tried to seek sanctuary, and basically the king is like, you're not asking for help, you're demanding it. Yeah. And right when Macy starts to explain what Maurice had told them, that the children were being taken not just as hostages, but to like siphon out their magic, before she could even get the statement out, the king is just like, enough lies. And first of all, I'm like, why? They haven't said anything that like alludes to them lying. Like from this, you know, from so far, the king and queen have believed everything that they've said. It's not like they've been accused of lying this whole time. Like the king and queen know that they're being honest. Like where did the lie accusation come from? It reminds me of Vander.
And when has Cyrus ever been truthful as well?
Right. Like why accuse the children of lying when, you know, when they know for a fact that Cyrus has been lying? Like, I don't know. That was a really weird thing. Like, it would have been okay to be like, enough, I don't want to hear it anymore. But enough lies. Children. Yeah, enough lies. What lies? Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't want to be shown up in front of his court. You know how, like, they're kind of having a conversation that should have been dealt with in private. But it was almost like a show of power in the way of, she stood the king and queen up in front of his whole court by not bowing. And now she's kind of making demands.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, get out, bitch. Like, I think the whole thing would have gone over better if she had kind of approached them as if, like, well, no, they are royalty. And I need to talk to them as if... But she didn't even really do that to Miri, whatever her name is.
Yeah, she's not meeting everybody like halfway, you know, with equal respect. It's more like, I deserve as much respect as you do. And she's kind of demanding that respect rather than being kind of calm in the situation and saying, look, like, I'm a queen, you're a queen, we all want the same thing. Like, let's find the common ground here. What can we do to help each other? She's just like, we need this and you need to help us, because like it definitely does come off kind of harsh, but it does feel accurate for how a teenager might behave. You know, I think that the diplomatic side
adults
comes from experience.
They copy adults, but slightly incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, adults kind of have a bit of a gravitas towards the way that they can speak to other people because they already have the years of experience. She's going into it speaking in the same manner, but she doesn't have the experience or the knowledge or the respect yet of these people. Like, she's done nothing to earn their respect.
Yeah. I mean,
so why would they?
These are high school children, basically, that are coming in and trying to play like, you know, they're going to be able to fight an army of thousands. Like, it makes total sense that they were so easily dismissed. But then Grace, like, holds up her hand and shows them that she actually has the crown. And that, to me, it's like, you know, the monkey has a loaded gun right now. They're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I was like, the witches react to the crown much like a vampire does to a crucifix. Like, no, take it away, get it away.
Like, scrambling in their thrones.
Yeah, like, boo.
Yeah. And the next notes, we both had the same note, essentially, but different like ways about it. So you go first and then I'll do mine.
Was I was like, oh, I have the crown. Oh yeah, you in whose army? My fucking army.
Yeah.
Just like the way that they said it was like, well, don't worry, because the crown means nothing without the gargoyle army. He's like, well, good thing I have it then.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way she said it is so petty.
Yeah.
But I think she almost kind of forgets that she has it for a while and is like, goes straight to the kind of blind accusation at her grandfather for not mentioning it, rather than going like, oh, wait, I have it. There's no issues here.
Yeah. Yeah. She's definitely trying to show a little bit of power here. I said, like, I have the crown. Well, it's useless without the gargoyle army. I have the army. Well, fuck. And then when she shows them that she has the ring, I love how the king is just like, hey, who gave you that ring, young lady? Drop it. Like, you
what's in your mouth? Drop it.
Yeah, he was just like, you stole it. I didn't steal it. My grandpappy.
Who would she steal it from anyway? If she's the only gargoyle in existence,
right?
As far as everybody else is concerned, who would she have stolen it from? That would give a shit. They're all dead.
Right. No, my grandpappy gave it to me.
And also, they've not really cared about the fact that she's just let on that all of the gargoyles are actually alive.
Yeah, she talks about the army, and nobody's just like, oh, cool, you have the army. Where are they? Like, no, everybody's
they're alive. They're safe. They didn't die.
Yeah. Like, she showed off a ring, and that was like, oh yeah, you've got a ring. Perfect. That makes perfect sense. No, there are essential details missing.
And also, she's let this bomb drop in this middle of this room with like quiet silence, and all of her friends also had no idea.
And none of them got
They're
upset.
all just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
She's like, I haven't exactly had time to let you know.
While that is true, she could have like hollered
Texted
it like,
them.
guys, while they're running. Guys, I need to tell you something.
Like, no one's also noticed that she suddenly got a ring. The amount of times that Hudson's held her hand since.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not noticed that she's wearing a weird ring.
And I definitely imagine it to be like this massive, gaudy, like huge, ugly thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like a man ring.
And it also has to be recognizable as well. Can you imagine, like, turning up with any emerald ring and be like, see, bitch, I have the gargoyle army. And they're like, what the fuck is that?
They pull out those tiny little like jeweler's glasses. Like, can I see?
Yes, it is. It is hallmarked. It is indeed the ring.
They get that little tool that you like tap to it to test if it's real. You know what I mean?
He asks whether he can bite it to see whether it's real diamond. Also, it's been on this man's ring finger for 1,000 years. It's like all crusty and old. Like, I don't know whether you want to watch for a bit too long, but you got like the skin cells underneath. That's going to be disgusting.
What?
It's going to be all discolored and tarnished. It doesn't matter how good your jewelry is. It cannot be worn for 1,000 years and not be cleaned once.
I'm under the impression that when Grace shifts, she like her whole outfit shifts, but the unkillable beast, when he shifted, like, or when he was it as the unkillable beast, like he didn't have on like his nice little tunic and his ring on his finger, like it's
his pantaloons.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I think that when he shifted back into a human, he should have just been butt-ass naked. I think that would have made way more sense, but apparently not. But yeah.
For continuity's sake, he should have been butt-ass naked.
Yeah. Then it's like, oh, who are you? Oh, naked grandpa.
Yeah, but he wasn't grandpa like age.
That's true.
But also, at no point did he go, well, you're definitely a descendant of mine. I don't remember having kids, though. But you're definitely a descendant of mine.
I can smell it.
At no point has he said that he's got, like, a son or a daughter.
You're right.
And where they are.
Yeah. He's not concerned to find them, even if he does. He's like, where's my wife? What about your children? Yep. No, my wife. Yeah. So I really feel like the king and queen are kind of, they didn't want to help, but it was it Hudson who was like, oh yeah, well then you'll help then. Or like, no, wait.
And then, they kind of managed to wrangle out a kind of, yes, well, if the children are safe, we will pledge ourselves to your cause.
Yeah.
And Grace is like, if anybody can see it, I'm very sorry about my puppy. She's laid upside down at my feet, demanding scratches the entire time. And my chair is the most squeaky of all, and I'm trying to do it without the squeaks being picked up by the microphone. And then like Grace like pipes up and goes, deal. Like straight up. Doesn't like make sure she's checked the sentence for loopholes or anything like that. Just goes straight out for the magical deal and goes, yep, deal. And then everything in the room, all the candles light with like bluish glow, which immediately gives the game away that was a magical deal being made. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's the first one that you've struck. The witch's army will help if the children are safe. Safe is a very subjective thing.
That's true. Technically, they're safe. Like, if they're, imprisoned, they're safe. If they are not, like, being dangled by their feet over a fire, like, they're...
Yeah, no current death threat.
Yeah.
Is maybe the meaning of safe.
Yeah. But... right after they make the deal, everybody gets poofed away. The king and queen poof away everybody except for Grace, who's just standing there like, hey. And they're like, oh, that's right.
We're my friends.
That's right. We forgot gargoyles. We can't be affected.
Oh, shit. And she's really disgruntled by that fact as well. She's like, oh, shit, forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot that you can't be done with magic.
Like, okay, well, you can use the door. And so they lead Grace outside, and she ends up in this kind of like, plaza, and she's trying to identify where she is. She's taking pictures of road signs and sending them to the group chat, which, really smart, except I'm thinking of this and I'm like, yeah, even with the signs and all the clues, I would have no idea where I am. I would have not even the slightest clue. She was in Italy, right?
Yeah, I would have been in my absolute element. I was like, oh my God, I speak Italian. Let's go. I would have ended up with lunch. The guys would have found me, and I would have been like tucking into some tiramisu.
Yeah.
I'm left alone in Italy. This is great. I'm unsupervised.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So another one of the witches comes to kind of
Viola.
Yeah. she comes to help. And first of all, she explains what the crown does. The crown can basically take away a paranormal's power. And Grace is like, wait, I thought that this would give you infinite power. And she's like, well, don't you think that the ability to take away a paranormal's power is infinite power? And everybody's just like, oh. But then Grace...
And it's not just taking away permanently. You can choose how long for and which power and how much of it.
You can Facebook ban them.
Yes,
like,
put them in jail.
Yeah, it's like a little, you can give them, you can ground somebody. Like, you're grounded for a week until you learn how to be responsible with your powers.
And you start posting little pictures of nips. You're banned.
And then Grace, right when she finds out what it does, rather than thinking, oh, this is so useful, I could take away, even if I'm even in a fight, I could even just take someone's power away for a minute, like, or if just for a week or whatever. Like, there's so many useful applications for this with this information that she's just received about the crown. And she goes, never mind, I don't want it. How do I get rid of it? I'm just like, oh, Grace, you little idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even the guy right next to her is the one guy that doesn't get a little bit scared of what happens, like, with the crown. Everybody else kind of, like, backs away from her, like, knowing how much their powers mean to them. But Hudson stays there. He's like, yep, I made the right choice in mate, because she can take away my powers that I absolutely hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she doesn't even think about him. Like, she could give and say, like, okay, I can take your power away for a week, and there would be no consequence.
I think that she feels like, obviously she doesn't want him to have to use his power, but it's a good backup to have. Like, nobody wants, like, if, it's like nobody wants to use that type of weapon. It'd be like, somebody who carries like a handgun in their purse, like maybe like a single mom who lives in a bad like area, who goes and like, gets like a concealed carry permit in the event that like someone tries to hurt her or her child. It's not like she wants to use it, but if it came to saving the life of her baby, she might feel inclined to do so. And I feel like Grace kind of sees Hudson's powers the same way. Like, no, we don't want to have to resort to that. But if it comes down to us all being ripped apart, it is an option that we have. And Hudson, I do think, it's a little drastic for him to say, no, I want it. I don't want to have this power at all. This is a curse. So,
yeah.
But,
I do think it's like slightly melodramatic, because I don't think he's found a single good reason to use it.
Yeah. I mean, Grace is she's kind of got a similar, not an equal power, but, it's weird that she would say that she doesn't want Hudson to like get rid of his power, and she's, she kind of wants him to keep his power. But then at the same time, she immediately, when she has a special power from the crown, she just immediately doesn't want it. It's like, it's not really an equal way to look at things. But
no.
So Flint gets a new prosthetic leg from, what was her name?
Viola.
Yeah. He gets a new prosthetic leg, and I always thought that it was kind of weird, like, that he got a prosthetic and not, I guess magic can't replace a limb.
Maybe it's a magical prosthetic leg where it's got a little bit more, like, power than a normal leg.
Yeah, it changes with his dragon, doesn't it? Isn't that what?
But didn't his normal leg do that?
Yeah, doesn't it, like, shift as, like, is it, like, a bigger prosthetic? Does he have like
I'd like to think that like he becomes a dragon, but the leg that's prosthetic stays human.
Like a little kickstand?
Like a tiny little foot.
Yeah. There's a little tennis shoe on it.
Yeah. Probably it's like really unstable if he tries to stand, because it's
just
a little bit leaning.
All right. Let's go ahead and get into spoilers. My spoiler is only one for Court, and it's just a quick one, but Amber's is for Charm. So we'll let you know before we get to the Charm spoiler in case you want to skip that. But for Court, Liam said something else. Every time he says something, I'm being very critical of it because we're trying to decide if Liam has been bad all along or if, the way that he was pleading innocence and basically just freaking out when Cyrus killed him in front of everybody. I mean, he claimed that he was innocent until the very end. And somebody who has truly, truly done wrong, I feel like at the last minute, they might admit to their friends, like, yes, it was me. But he, up until he was, like, dead, he begged his friends, like, to believe him. And there was another line that he said when they were in the plaza, when all the lights in the plaza came on, he said that some of us were doing just fine in the dark. And it's kind of a weird thing to say. It's
bit melodramatic.
Yeah, it felt out of place. Like, it's not like the vampires are nocturnal in this series. It's not like, it's not like they hunt at night. There's nothing in this particular series that like alludes to the vampires being like a nighttime creature for this particular. I don't know. It just felt like a weird thing to say. It's not necessarily a damning sentence, but I dare say that this is another bad boy point. It just felt, I don't know.
It was just a little bit of an off point where you're like, why did you say that?
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah, it just didn't seem, nobody else was like, no, I liked it dark. We should have left it like that, I don't know. That was just an odd one. So not necessarily a damning point, but I do think that we can add this into our bad boy points for Liam. Okay, so world-ending spoiler for Charm, possibly something that will come up in Cherish, which comes out in it'll be less than 10 days when we actually release the podcast. We will be, less than a week.
Yes.
When this releases.
Let me go and get rid of Siren because she is...
That's fine.
She's going to ruin the spoiler.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I did want to say that I sent Amber a excerpt from Cherish that was released. Let me pull it up. If you guys end up wanting to read it, you should be able to look it up by going to Entangled Teens Instagram account. And then the link in their bio will lead you right to the little excerpt. It's pretty interesting. It was, from thenerddaily.com. And basically, in this little bonus chapter, Grace is in Cyrus's office. Don't know how she got there, but she notices that the vampire court as a whole is being redecorated or, remodeled. And she goes into Cyrus's office and she notices that everything is destroyed and there's a sledgehammer leaning up in the corner, and she just assumes because Hudson has apparently made multiple trips to the vampire court since everything from the end of court, has taken place. She assumes that he's the one who did it. And she basically said when you can destroy everything with a thought, but you choose to use a sledgehammer, there's some intention there. Hudson, he could have went into Cyrus's office and just poofed everything, but he really just wanted to destroy with a hammer. And that leads me to believe that Cherish is going to have a lot of Hudson really dealing with what happened in his childhood. And now that the issue with his father is kind of contained, that maybe we'll get a lot of emotions from Hudson, where he is able to kind of release some of his trauma, I guess, and deal with some of the things that he's dealing with. And I'm hoping that we don't have to deal with an angry Hudson again. I think that it's really, really difficult. Some parts of court where Hudson is just kind of shutting down and having a really hard time and not opening up to Grace. And I really, really hope that that phase of Hudson is over and that we don't have to relive that again in Cherish, though completely justifiable if he's feeling that way. I completely understand. But at the same time, it is hard as a reader, to endure that with a character that you love so much. And, knowing that this is the last book about Grace and Hudson, I really hope that we can get like their cute banter back. Similar to what we got to enjoy in Charm, which if you haven't gotten to read Charm yet, make sure that you do that before you read Cherish. Tracy Wolff actually just published a thing, I think on Facebook, basically saying that you need to have read Charm in order for Cherish to make sense. It is essential. You cannot skip it. And, Charm, out of all of the books, I personally thought that Charm was one of the best. It made me laugh the most. It was one of the most lighthearted. It had a lot of scenes that were very special to me. And I feel that way about Covet as well. I think that there were a lot of scenes in Covet that made me smile a lot. But Charm, there was something really special about that time that Grace and Hudson spent together, and their characters really evolved during that time. Amber, are you back yet?
I am.
Okay.
I was just letting you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought that you were, it was just so quiet. I thought that maybe you were still gone. So I was just trying to fill the void with my voice.
Well, yeah, no, I've opened the back door for them to go out into the yard, but we've got it all penned off because we've had our garden turfed and they're not allowed on it. So I'm hoping, I think she just needs a wee, but I have to physically take her out on a lead and take her out for a walk to go to the toilet. So that's going to have to wait.
Well, you go ahead and do your spoiler, and then we'll be done.
Okay.
All right.
Right. So, whilst Viola is kind of talking to them in this weird square, she kind of puts this light on, and that's when Liam makes the weird comment about he was being okay in the dark. And then Macy goes, "Oh, good, like, I don't like being in the shadow." And she replies, "There are a few witches especially good at dispelling shadows, my dear, and you are one of them." And I was like, oh my God,
yeah,
this could be big. And then she went, "I only know of one witch who can send even the fiercest shadow dweller running in fear. And I think you might need her before your journey is over." And that's right before she reveals that Macy's mum is alive and is living in the vampire court.
Yeah.
So,
shadow dweller.
Big things.
So,
because Macy's like, "Well, I don't know how to do shadow magic," and she's like, "No, but you will."
Yeah. So either Macy's mom is going to really come into play in Cherish, maybe training Macy, or maybe it's just something that Macy has inherited, and since she didn't know she had it, like maybe she's never tried to use it. But this, I definitely think, the term just shadow dweller feels very much akin to the creatures that we see in Charm. So,
yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of hoping that might be like Macy's chance to be a bit of a badass.
Yeah.
Like everybody else, like they've always been the kryptonite to whatever they're fighting. But Macy, she tends to be kind of a bit of an assistance role, except for portals. And I'm really hoping that Macy comes into her own in this book.
Yeah, Macy always pulls through at the end to like save everybody's asses, but she's always kind of subtle like during the fighting. So I'm hoping that we get some like badass fight scenes with her really taking charge.
And I really want to take this kind of revelation and reread the trials section when they're fighting the things that come from the shadows. To see whether Macy's the only one that is capable of like making them move or whatever.
Grace doesn't get teamed up with Macy at all during those trials, does she?
No, I just can't remember what happens. So I'm gonna be looking forward to reading those scenes to see whether it's true that Macy has like shadow spell casting-y powers.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. That was a good one. That was a good little taste for us.
So we will have next week's, and then probably the 7th, I would say, would be either we wouldn't record, we would be either still reading Cherish before we do Cherish.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how many more weeks we have left of Court before we do the Cherish episode.
I'm going to say that we'll probably do the Cherish episode on the 15th. That way we have a little bit of time to actually digest it.
Yes.
And
it also means that everybody else has a chance to read it as well.
Exactly.
Because otherwise we would be recording on the day of release, which is no good to anybody. Or the week after, which for a lot of people might not be feasible because some books, they are quite fat and take a while to read.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that the 15th would be a good date to put in. So you'll have 2 more weeks of Court. And then the 3rd week will be Cherish.
Yes. So keep the 15th in mind, unless something happens. Obviously we can't prevent emergencies if something happens, but the 15th should be the date that we release our Cherish episode for those who read it, if you're able to finish it in that time. If not, you can always come back and listen to the episode later. Basically, we'll just be covering everything from the book, front to back, like we have done in our past Court episode. We have a Charm episode where we cover the whole book, and we try to digest, all of that material and spit it out all into one episode. So look forward to that, guys. Other than that, I guess we will see you all next week.
Bye.